Hello and welcome to RAMACAC's Learn a Latte series. My name is Matt Lopez, Director of Admissions at the University of Utah. Also happen to be a RAMACAC board member, and I'm currently also the president-elect of the Association of Chief Admissions Officers at Public Flagship Institutions, also known as ACAPU. It's great to have you. The hope of today's series is to help those who are currently in the admissions world or enrollment world or are considering being in the admissions world or provide a little bit of advice, maybe some experience in regards to how to make an enrollment management position your career or hopefully allow for folks to become the next enrollment managers. I do want to mention that this presentation certainly has come from my experience of almost 20 years in higher education, but it also comes from several other sources. I also wanted to make sure that I included feedback from the folks who are actually part of search firms who are hiring today's enrollment managers, especially at the Director of Admissions, maybe Director of Financial Aid, Vice President of Enrollment Management Divisions, and certainly have gotten some feedback from a good friend of mine, Robin Mamlett from Whit Kiefer, who was also former Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid at Stanford. So she's got a lot of great experience. Some of this is from her comments and her experience as well as some experience from some of my director colleagues across the country. Really, I really want to quickly kind of mention the current state of enrollment management. And certainly probably don't have to mention too much to you all, but in an industry that used to be kind of faculty positions, administrative positions, especially faculty who were kind of in the later years of their career, that's no longer the case. And as the baby boom generation continues to retire, or maybe find out that admission or enrollment management may be a different world these days, there's a lot of opportunity for people, and especially kind of the mid to senior level enrollment management folks, admissions folks. There's plenty of opportunity out there. But before we move through that, just wanted to make sure when I talk about enrollment management that we're all kind of on the same page. And really, because of the reliance on tuition and the challenge that everybody is facing these days with the rise of and the cost of higher education, and certainly, especially for the public schools, a lack of funding from the government and the in some cases, some judgment coming from the public in regards to the value of our costs. More and more colleges are really relying on tuition and really relying on making sure that enrollment is strong, and enrollment certainly meets the mission and values of their university or college. And so university departments can certainly no longer be siloed. I think for the trend these days is that universities, maybe because of performance-based funding or any of those, are certainly having to come together and really rely on strategic plans and working together, certainly having to leverage resources. I know that tuition discounting and use of financial aid, determining market branding and marketing, trying to determine what the public wants in terms of types of buildings, and everybody seems to be building a rec center these days. But more importantly, I think it's also important to show that the model, I think the universities are coming to find that it is certainly much cheaper to keep students at their school than just focus on the front end and pour lots and lots of money at the front end. And so enrollment management is certainly kind of an area now where there's a lot of focus on strategic planning, looking from getting students to the university or college, keeping them there, helping them be satisfied with certainly the opportunities available to them, but also graduate and hopefully in the long run give back to the university as certainly another financial support track. Robin, one of the things that she said to me before that really kind of struck a chord is, there's no search that has been more unnerving, other than maybe a university president, than a search for an enrollment management position. There's so much stress and the skill set is so different than what it used to be that in some cases it is kind of hard to find good quality directors of admissions, quality financial aid, orientation directors, housing directors. And so it really is a time where those in the industry or just beginning in the industry really need to kind of focus on the type of experience they're looking for to be competitive in that marketplace. Here's some of the predicted needs of what universities need in regards to an enrollment management plan. I don't have to say this, but data and kind of data-informed decision making is becoming more and more kind of a catchphrase, but it's also the reality. We're relying on more data to make decisions. Faculty, even students and parents, prospective students and parents are demanding data and results and those things. Certainly, we also have to, especially those of us in the on the public institution side, really have to be kind of a collective voice for the value of higher education and kind of the reason why it's still such an important thing for individuals to invest in. Certainly, because of this, and as I mentioned, the lack of siloed departments any longer, cooperation and playing nice within the institution is necessary. Evolving, enrollment managers certainly need to be flexible and be willing to learn and evolve, but it's also pushed on us. More and more student success type programs, understanding, mental health. Some of those are becoming a part of enrollment management. Only focusing on building a funnel. I know more and more of us, I think every president out there, one of the first questions they ask a director of admissions is how our applications look. In many cases, they're inferring, are we getting more and more applications? But I think it's also a lot more focus is being placed on, are we getting the right students? The students that ultimately are applying to our campus will come and be successful, will stay, and will graduate. Certainly a lot more focus has been placed on universities to make sure that students graduate. Obviously, and this is not a new one, but advocating for access and making sure that we represent, we live, we walk the walk, we advocate for diversity, and making sure that education certainly is a possibility for everyone. And then change management. This kind of goes above with the evolving responsibilities, but being able to motivate staff in a very challenging and kind of pressure-packed world. There really is kind of a leadership vacuum right now, and so enrollment management folks are oftentimes really looked at to lead change, to help a campus push through some maybe enrollment issues or dilemmas, and that's important. But the good thing is that means there's lots of opportunity. Salaries, I think more and more enrollment managers are been given a place at the table, the decision-making table at universities, and I truly believe that the future's VPs and presidents will oftentimes be required to have some sort of enrollment management knowledge and possibly even experience. And so I think for a guy like me, that's kind of an interesting concept and interesting idea. So here's some of the advice that I have for you in regards to making sure that you have a competitive portfolio. If staying in enrollment management or admissions is something that you are currently considering. In my experience, one of the most important things is you cannot be afraid of numbers. You can't be afraid of data. that means maybe taking a couple statistics classes as a refresher, or choosing a master's degree or even a doctorate degree that makes you comfortable with using data, both not only the quantitative evaluations, but certainly the qualitative factors that can be used to help build your strategic plans, to be able to provide administrators on your campus information is really important. You cannot be afraid of that. Be helpful. Unfortunately, directors of admissions folks have a little bit of a reputation of trying to control things, and in some instances not willing to be collaborative. And that's definitely a careful balance, but certainly something that is needed more and more in this day and age. I do believe in building a support network, not only because really in the end it takes a village to recruit to a university, but also it's always good to have allies and to help you get through really a lot of different situations. Admissions folks are folks that are attracted to admissions, tend to have maybe a little bit of a type A, or maybe an overachieving personality. And so being cognizant of those attributes that may derail your reputation, or even kind of put a bruise on some of your experience, is certainly something that I have to kind of remind myself constantly. Owning reviews and evaluations, listening, trying to take that constructive feedback and really make a positive spin on it. One thing that is really important, because I don't think it ever hurts, is watching postings. See what's out there. Read job postings to see what type of people universities are looking for. Certainly build your relationships with folks within the industry, both regionally and nationally. The admissions world, enrollment management world, is actually quite small. That Association of Chief Admissions Officers I mentioned. I get together with 50 or so of the top public flagship schools every summer, and one of the most common conversations I have is directors asking each other to make recommendations of current staff who may be able to be successful for a search that maybe that institution is currently have or may have in the future. So by knowing people, by expanding those relationships, by making good positive connections, that is certainly something that's very great. This one too is really important, is round out your experience. Sometimes this is hard to control, but don't put yourself in a silo. Don't have just one type of experience, meaning don't just be comfortable in the recruiting setting, or in the campus visit setting, or in the alumni recruitment setting. Branch out. Make sure that you're well aware and familiar with maybe the admissions operations side, and be familiar with technology. Maybe take a little bit of a risk and volunteer to take over a type of committee so that you can get to interact with faculty and some of those things. And certainly build on your experience and advocacy for what I say capital D diversity, and that's kind of an all-encompassing statement. But the more people that you are able to be around, and different types of ideas and different types of needs, and being able to understand those is certainly a very important aspect as well. I think a couple of other things that I would mention, enrollment management is just that. Maybe at your campus, the admissions office may lead the effort, or maybe they kind of follow another office, but I think it's really important for you to have a lot of knowledge, more than just surface level, of the financial aid world, and maybe Department of Education rules, and some of the things that they have to deal with in regards to, especially in the day of changes to prior year FAFSA and some of that. Being able to truly understand how some of those implications may impact not only your job, but others within enrollment management is important. I mentioned this as well, being familiar and proficient in technology, researching and seeing what type of technology is out there, best practices, is great. And then most important is really don't lose sight of the importance of what we do. At the end of the day, we all believe in students. We all believe in what higher education can allow and bring to folks. And so making sure that as this world becomes more and more competitive and more stressful, and the campuses are relying on us more, at the end of the day, we truly have the opportunity to impact young people, to impact folks, to encourage them, to motivate them to become more educated, not only to help them individually, but as a society, certainly make us more tolerant of each other, more knowledgeable of each other, and certainly a better place to live. So that's a quick series. I would welcome the opportunity to chat with anybody. Feel free to send me an email. I've also provided a quick picture, so if you see me at a professional organization, at the RMACEC conference or NACEC or any of those things, feel free to stop me and chat. I'm always happy to kind of hear other people's experiences, learn from them as well, and I'm always more than willing to provide a little bit of my opinion on things as well. Thanks so much. That concludes this Learn a Latte series. Thank you.